Jude writes, handcrafted by Mother Nature in the likeness of my maker, raised by humans and living in a dream. I am merely stardust. Nothing permanent, and therefore, in a sense, nothing actually matters. So don't hold too tightly to anything. And while I thought that was a little bit nihilistic, I resonated with that and wanted, and I know your background, if you can share a bit of your background with the audience.
Like back to childhood, or just like building my art space?
Your art space.
So I, in a nutshell, I was a high school dropout, and my family there was no encouragement to get education and be the best you. It wasn't even a thing. It wasn't like I was missing something, and it wasn't until I was in my mid-20s where I realized my parents had neglected to give me motivation to be something spectacular, or anything at all. I just thought I was going to get married and have babies and be a housewife, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but I didn't have a drive, and so I found myself working as a secretary. I somehow convinced I somehow became the executive director's assistant at Future Shop. But every day I would go to my job, I was like, oh my God, I just hate my life right now. Like, I'm on the SkyTrain, but I can't do anything. Like, I can't even go to college because I don't have a high school education. And I was so lost, and I was so scared, and I was having anxiety attacks every day on the way to the SkyTrain, and then one day, just randomly, I don't even think you know this story, but I was at a friend's house one evening, and on the back of her toilet was a wine bottle with daisies painted on it and a candle stuck in it that was melted, and it was really cute, and I thought it was cute, and I was like, hey, Sue, I was like, where did you get that? It's really cute. She's like, oh, somebody gave it to me, and I was like, I have wine bottles. Would you be cool if I copied it? She's like, I don't care, someone gave it to me. So I went home, and I didn't have any paint, but I had liquid paper, and for those of you that are young enough, it's white out. And so my daisies sucked, and so I painted, I painted my doodles from my books, but I wasn't an artist, I wasn't anything. And so this wine bottle looked really cool to me. And all of my friends that came over after that were like, wow, that's really cool. Where did you get that? I was like, I painted it with liquid paper. And they're like, cool. And so I decided I would make wine for all my friends for Christmas. And I did. My wine wasn't very good, but it didn't matter because I painted all these bottles. But what I had also done was I had found a product that it was a thermoparting porcelain paint. So I'd gone to the art store and said, hey, I want to do these. And so this paint, if you baked it in the oven to 400 degrees, it would fuse to the glass, and it would become permanent, and turns out it was also FDA approved and dishwasher safe. So I painted all these bottles, I gifted them, everybody liked them, and that same year my partner and I were we went to Maui, we went to Lahaina, sad, sorry for Lahaina, but that was the beginning of my dream, because my dream that I didn't know I had at all. And so while we were in this gallery, there was a martini glass with an olive painted on it. My partner said, your designs would look really cool on martini glasses. And so that's all I could think about now, was like, what am I going to paint? Oh my God, I've got these cool paints, and I need to get home. And I got home, and I went to Mingwu on 4th Avenue, and I spent handsomely on these martini glasses, and I painted them, and I gifted them to a friend, and they were like, wow. And then their friends were like, wow, where did you get those? And they were like, she did them. And then they ordered some. And next thing you know, I was painting martini glasses on the side of my desk in my dreams while I was still working at Future Shop, because I still hated my job. No offense to Future Shop and or my boss, he was a good man. But so anyways, one of those persons took my glasses to a store, and the store bought them. And next thing you know, I was in a gift show. Next thing you know, I was selling to stores across BC, and I was employing a few people. I was learning about business. I'm sorry this story is so long about where I came from, but it's a really long, fascinating story. And so anyways, I got accepted eventually to the San Francisco gift show, and I was picked up by Neiman Marcus and Nordstrom's and Fred's of Santa Monica and Details in New York. And suddenly I was painting $500,000 in painted martini glasses and plates and platters, and I was like on fire. I was like, what is even happening with my life? I have 10 full-time employees. I learned about NAFTA. I learned about cost of goods. I learned about human resource and payroll tax, and I was in over my head so far. I had no business being in business, but I also just never looked back on this. Like I was just living this dream, and so where I am today is that 9/11 happened, and my martini glass business, the Canadian dollar plummeted. Americans weren't buying my fancy glasses anymore, and then about 2 years after that, while my business was kind of like just petering along, I started to focus on like getting into interior design work, and so I was now doing tables and wall pieces, but then the building my studio was in had an electrical fire, and I found myself standing on the street with my now dying glass business and no place to make my product. This was also in 2003, and so while I was looking for a new space to move my business, this lovely lady who owned a warehouse that was kind of around the corner from my old studio said, "Hey, I heard what happened. You can just use my space for a couple months while you get your feet on the ground." And so I moved everything into there, my 2 ovens and my 2 staff, and I scratched my head. I was like, oh my God, I don't even know what I'm gonna do. I'm unemployable. Like literally, this is the only thing I've done with my life, is build this glass painting business that's now dead. And but I would stand in the front window every day of that space, and I'd be like, hey, you guys, what if we turn this into like a little gallery? And so anybody walking past would like look in and they'd see our products. And then I was like, and if we take over this whole space back here too, I was like, we could put some glass-walled studios and we'll invite other people who are also in the arts, who also make stuff. So maybe you make stationery, and you make hats, and you're a photographer, and I make the glass, and so my clients will come in to pick up my stuff, and awesomely, Tien, who was just in the video, is actually, well, I'll get to that in a second, and I was like, and people like him will like also be in the space, and my girlfriend was trying to build a theater at the time. She's like, do you think we could put a theater in the back of this place that you're building? I was like, and there'll be a theater, and everybody will come to the gallery, and they'll come to the studios, and we'll cross-pollinate clients, and we'll collaborate, and you'll see into each other's things, and so every day you'll be forced to look in the eyes of the people who are also making things with you, and so this community will build, and so then I pitched this lady the idea, and she was like, that's a really great idea. Oh shit, I got wrap up.
No,
oh, nuts.
I didn't change the slide.
What's that? Oh, you didn't change the slide. So that was her wrap up. Okay. There's a note there that told me to wrap up. I didn't take Toastmasters. And so I presented the lady that owns this building, and she was like, that's cool. I've already got a business contract potentially with somebody else, but that's a really great idea. Do you have a business plan? I'm like, I don't have a business plan. She's like, well, pitch one. And so I went and I wrote a business plan, and I paid my roommate at the time to write this business plan, because once again, I don't have that acronym in my resume of experiences with my high school existence, and I really didn't even know how to run a business. And my friend said, I highly advise you not to run this business. It's not a good business plan. And I was like, what? But. And so I did it anyway. She said no, but I found this building at 5th and Alberta in the middle of, just outside of downtown Vancouver. And I put every cent I had into it. I built it without permits. And I built a place called the Beaumont Studios, which is now 25,000 square feet. We occupy 2 buildings side by side with a beautiful courtyard in the middle. There's over 50 artists that use the space in a full-time capacity, including Tien, who was just in your show. We have a 200-person auditorium where we do live performance, workshops, and education to the arts. We have a gallery and a gift store. And I have thousands of people come into my space every month to celebrate the arts and work in their career as artists, just like I did. And so that's my story. And then you came.
Then I came. What I picked up from your story, and I have to ask, is you sounded a hell of a lot happier telling all of that story versus, oh, I was an executive assistant at Future Shop. Regardless of all the naysayers, that's like, this business plan sucks, don't do it. You did it anyway. And right now, what, that's 20-year span.
It's 20 years.
Was it worth it?
Oh, I would not change a moment of any, well, I would change many, many moments. But if this Jude were speaking to that Jude and standing in this space that I've created around me, I wouldn't have believed it could be possible. Anita, when you were speaking, you spoke to me, because I've had those many moments, not enough moments, because I don't sit and talk to my soul often enough, but when I do, it's so excited to be alive and so proud of me, and is so thankful when I take the time to stop and talk to me. You brought tears to my eyes earlier. Thank you.
For
Reminded me
those
it's
that want an
important.
example of the skill, I drop by her place, look through the window. Anyone here watch the movie Tank Girl? Yeah. Well, there's a photograph, or I thought it was a photograph, and I started looking really carefully through the window. I was like, that's not a photograph. It looks like a poster. That's not a poster. That looks like a piece of film. And it was like, the detail in it was unbelievable. So when I saw Jude, I go, is that a poster or a print? What is that? She goes, no, I painted that. Glass paint. It's a piece of glass. And to me, it was absolutely mind-bending.
Thank you.
But to go back to that, the journey from Future Shop
Yes.
to where you are now.
Well, so I'm glad that you mentioned the Tank Girl pictures, because those were, it's a fascinating process. I got to this place where I wasn't even painting myself anymore. I had a team of artists that were painting my designs, and then we would collaborate on projects together. And so I actually learned that process of painting on the flat piece like that, to paint backwards, because you're painting like away from, like, it's just not what my natural eye would see. So one of my artist designers painted that with me. Like, she taught me how to paint that, and so we did a series. There was like many other famous poster things that we did, but one of the things that I also had to kind of let go of and close in my life was the end of that business. And so that business moved into this new Beaumont with me, but I had to accept that it was dead. It was there because I was defined by it. My company was With a Twist, by the way, which is like a great name that my ex gave me. So it was Martinis with a Twist, and so to get to that place, you're like, but this is what made me. What am I without this? And then it closed. And it needed to close. It was preventing me from doing the work I needed to do with the Beaumont. And then I closed, and it was like, oh, I'm still here, I still exist, I still matter, and now I'm doing this beautiful work. And I've had many times with the Beaumont where, I mean, affordability is a real thing. Like, I pay $47,000 a month just to the landlord in the city to keep this space alive. And so we start in the hole every month. And like, there's always this, like, you know, I had a bad board of directors for a while, and I had to take a pause. I had Beaumont burnout, we call it. And it was like, okay, who am I without the Beaumont? And it was very hard to live in that, but you have to live in it. You have to, like, just sit in this place of, like, this doesn't define, it defines me. It's my career, it's who I am, it's what I've created, it's my community, it's everyone around me. But if it's not there, and so I've had a few moments to, like, really just sit in this place of, like, who am I without all this? And I actually don't know. Well, I'm an artist, probably. Turns out I do make art now, but the journey is just so, it's life. Life is the journey, and nothing matters. Nothing fucking matters. Sorry to swear, but nothing matters. At the end of the day, everything is so important to us, but nothing really, we're just here exploring and being. And
so when you say nothing matters, like, I'm sure it means everything, something different to everyone in the room. But it's a wonderful way to live. But how do you explain it to someone that's taking their first step and to say, what do you mean? What do you mean nothing matters? Everything matters.
So, hold the mic in the right place. Am I still good? So, how do I describe it? So I lose a lot of things. A lot of my things get broken. We can go out the same night and we'll have the same coat on, and at the end of the night, your coat is pristine, but mine will have probably wine stains on it. But, like, it'll be torn, it'll be wrinkled, and I'll be like, ah. And one of my friends once, or again, I'll, like, put my thing down, it'll get squished or moved or lost or stolen. And someone was like, well, you just don't really care about things. And I was like, at first I was, like, offended that she was, like, insulting me for not taking care of my things. But then she saw my reaction. She was like, no, you just don't care about things. Like, things don't matter to you. So whatever, your purse is there and the coat is there. Like, it's just a coat. Who cares? Like, I would get paint on all my clothes, and then I would be like, damn it, my thing's got paint on it. And so I just started painting in my clothes. So if I was going out to like a fancy dinner and I had like a last little thing to do on a thing and I got paint on, we're like, oh, well, maybe I'll just wear my prom dress to the studio every day. And so things don't matter. Nothing matters.
So we chatted about this as well. As we grow, and I use that word because I don't like saying as we age. There's a meme that I saw where we don't refer to trees like, yeah, that's an old tree. No, that tree is growing. So to say that we are growing, as you transitioned, as you go and say, oh, this isn't who I am, this is not what I want, but to let go and to really say nothing really matters, it's just the experience. How does that change as we grow?
Well, I think in like maybe a few years from now, I'll probably like judge the current me for making a statement so bold, because the future me will be like, oh, really? And then I'll be like, oh, that's right. When I was 25 and I thought I knew everything and I didn't know anything at all, the 30-year-old me was like, oh, I was so dumb. But I get it all now. And then the 35-year-old me was like, oh, maybe I don't get any of it at all. And so we just keep going until I don't know. Like, I literally don't know. And so finding that peace to just sit and
like for
ask
me
yourself the
as
question, what do you do?
Growing up as a very pragmatic dude, being an artist was it was not allowed. Dad goes, you are not being an artist, you're going to starve, you're going to die, and I'm not going to feed you. So I never became an artist, even though I loved art. Yeah. So the concept of creating unique items purely out of joy and actually doing it to sustain a living, to me, is like, it's mind-boggling.
It is.
But then when I watch you share your story, like I could see the gleam in your eye. It's like, I'll do anything. I'll do this forever because I don't want to do anything else.
I don't want to do anything else.
What does that feel like?
It's depending on the day. It's a different opinion. Sometimes I feel like I'm living in Hotel California. And sometimes I feel like Han Solo, and I'm just going to be stuck bronzed in a wall. And sometimes I walk around and I see it through other people's eyes, where they just come into this world and they're like, what is this place? And I'm like, I don't know, I made it up in my mind. And do you like it here? Stay with me, please don't go. And I also live on the property, by the way. So my place, I'm literally in this beautiful oasis. But there's times I said, like, like we could get into like the deep nitty-gritties of things, but like my mom, anytime I tell her about something celebratory about it, she's like, oh, Judy, that doesn't sound good. What happens if? And I was like, oh my God, can you just ever be proud of me or excited for something that I'm doing? Because you're really making it difficult to want to love you and visit you. And so there's like that voice in there.
I'll throw my mom under the bus too. It's like when I did this and I invited her for the first time, and had a fantastic show and people applauding and everything. And she comes up, she was like, how much is this costing you? I'm like, thanks, exactly, Mom. It's like, thanks for diminishing everything that I just did up until here.
All of those things.
Yeah, even though I know that she loves me deep down, she doesn't ever show it.
Deep down, my mom loves me too and doesn't ever show it. Unless I confront her. And then even then I get a little bit back.
So if you had to share for those that haven't embarked, haven't let go of whatever they're holding on to in order to become what they could be, what guidance could you give them? Because from your story, from what I see, you're like, it definitely was not a planned straight line.
It was not a plan. I honestly, I had no business. I do not know how I ended up here, other than it was something inside of me. But I do absolutely, and I'm looking at Anita because I absolutely remember that night where I talked to my soul for the first time and was just like, whoa. It's like, am I talking to myself? And myself was like, yes, yes, you are. And I was like, I don't even know what to say right now. And I was like, well, what do you want to say? What do you want to talk about? And I was like, fuck me. And I was sitting on the stoop of my house, and I was like, I don't even know. And I was like, are you my soul? Yes, you are. Yes, I am. I'm like, can I just talk to you whenever I want? Yeah, I've been here the whole time. I'm with you every step of the way. Anytime you want to check in, I am your guiding light. And I will be, and it was like, and so, and I don't do it enough, so thank you for reminding me. I'm going to do it more. But I think that would be my advice. My advice would be like, just sit with yourself. Go do the walk in the woods, wherever your woods are, wherever your universe and guiding light is, just go and be until the answers will come. But that would be my advice. It's there. It's in you.